Instagram family. So I'm very excited because I'm about to go watch the first Modern Tatib Discovery Workshop and Teaching Seminar to be hosted by the Historical African Martial Arts Association here in Toronto, Ontario. This is one of the pit stops on Dr. Adel Boulad's journey, a literal legend in the martial arts industry, to getting Modern Tatib into the Olympics. So this is quite an exciting time for Hama, it's an exciting time for Canada, and it's an exciting time for Modern Tatib. Now, I helped to organize a bit of the event, and while I was organizing it, I was thinking a lot about the principle of self-defense. And I don't mean the act itself, but self-defense and how it applies in everyday life. And I thought about the importance of self-defense in spirituality and in protecting our mental health. Specifically, I'm speaking about boundaries here and establishing boundaries. Now, I know that establishing boundaries can be very difficult. There can be cultural barriers, religious barriers, or just personal barriers that make it challenging to establish boundaries. But it is absolutely critical that we learn how to fight our battles, and we also learn to tell people when we've had enough to make sure that we're protecting ourselves and protecting our mental health. I mean, our health overall, but we're talking about our mental health here, and of course our spirituality as well. And so I really wanted to just share sort of my journey and sort of the troubles that I had, or the difficulties and challenges that I faced in establishing boundaries. I know that for me it was very hard because I come from a culture where sometimes establishing boundaries can be considered to be rude or disrespectful, especially if there's an age gap. So if a child doesn't want to be hugged by an uncle or a visitor, we would be told that we're being rude and that we need to hug Uncle so-and-so or we need to hug Auntie so-and-so. But I think it's important that we remember that establishing boundaries is not something that comes naturally, it's something that's taught. And children need to be taught how to establish boundaries. When we make children hug other people because we consider that to be disrespect if they don't, or we consider it disrespect when they say they don't want to, we are working against what we're supposed to be doing in terms of actually teaching our children how to protect their own agency and autonomy and make sure that they're always comfortable in the interactions that they're having. So I remember when I was a child, whenever I would try to establish boundaries with my father, he would get extremely abusive, physically abusive, mentally abusive. Sometimes he would break my collector's items, my clothes. He'd destroy my clothes. He'd do a whole bunch of really horrible things just to show me that he was entitled to my personhood and that my personhood belonged to him. And it took a lot of soul searching, a lot of psychotherapy, and a lot of healing in order for me to realize that no, my personhood actually belongs to me and only me. And that was a journey, for sure. It was a long, very painful, tumultuous journey. But I think having cannabis as my plant spirit guide really helped me through that, because cannabis allowed me to go back into these places and these dark times in my life that I was too scared to go back to, because I didn't feel like I was powerful enough to do it. I didn't feel like I had what it took to do it, and so it was very scary for me. It was very challenging. But when I started using cannabis, it allowed me to go back to that place and really think about those memories and think about what those experiences, what effect or what impact they had on my mental health, what impact they had on my development, and how are they now still shaping the person that I am today, the woman that I am today. And when I started having that honest conversation with myself, I started realizing that I was having a hard time establishing boundaries because my father taught me that it wasn't okay. And so I had to shed that subconscious programming that I was under. I had to really shed it and be honest with myself about the fact that this is sort of what was getting in my way, and then also just forgiving myself, but then also learning to forgive my father. And even though that's been a journey for me, long journey for me. I realized that I had to learn how to do that if I was going to move forward, and if I was going to be able to grow and blossom into the woman that I knew I could be. And so it's a continuous process for me, but I'm working at it one day at a time, one moment at a time, and and I'm seeing great results and great success. Now, for me, what I know for sure right now, and what message I would like to leave you with is just, don't be afraid to establish your boundaries. Always remember that when people are coming to you and asking you to do something that might be going against your intuition, that they have their own self-interest in mind, and they have their idea of what they need and what's important for them in mind, and that's their priority. And so you need to make sure that your priority are your self-interests and what you need, your wants, your desires, and just making sure that you are establishing those boundaries and not letting anybody violate them or guilt you or manipulate you into violating them. So thanks so much, Instagram fam. I hope to talk to you guys soon. Take care. Mwah.